Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and I am so excited to be starting back on my Living on Social Security series. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've talked about that and told y'all some stories about my past and my past mistakes, so we're going to get into that. But first, I want to welcome everyone back, and please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button while we're thinking about it, because if you wait until the end of the video, we'll be done forgot about it, right? And if you're just passing through here, please subscribe. You will be loved and accepted here on Glenda Sully's channel. We are a close-knit community. We love and support each other, and when one of us is in need, we do everything that we can to help each other out through prayer and other means. So I hope that you will join us and you will find a friendship and a camaraderie here on Glenda Sully. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please share my videos with your friends and family and co-workers. So let's get into it. So today I just want to talk about, real life on Social Security and what we have to go through today. And I know for myself, I know I'm not speaking for all of you, because most of y'all were a lot smarter with your money and a better steward of your money than I was. But I'm just telling you the mistakes that I made and the things that I have to live with now and my circumstances now, because I was not a good steward of my money. So first I want to talk about how John and I lived and the reason that we didn't save money. Now when we married, he was working for TGNY. That was a little 5 and dime type store, kind of like F.W. Woolworths, and kind of like the Walmart was years and years ago when it was first founded. But anyway, he was a manager, and so we got married. I actually met him at the W.T. Grant store in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He was an assistant manager there, and he actually hired me to work there because he thought I was pretty and he wanted to flirt with me. So that's how we met. But then he got a different job. I think that it was called a Grant City, and that was the prelude back then to what is now Walmart, Super Walmart. I mean, that store was humongous. It took up probably 5 acres of land. So he was an assistant manager there, and I worked in the jewelry department. So after that store went bankrupt, he did get a job with the TGNY company, and that store was located in Freeport, Texas. So we got married in September of 1971, and he had already relocated to Freeport and had set us up an apartment and everything. So we got there, and he was the manager of the little TGNY store there, and I got a job at the Brazosport Fax, which is the newspaper there in Brazosport County, Texas. And we were pretty happily married there and everything, newlyweds. And he was 10 years older than me, but he sure didn't act like it. He was just a little kid at heart up until the day he died. So, we struggled. He wasn't making that much money. I think he made maybe $250 a week. But back in the 70s, it didn't cost that much money to live. So we managed. I mean, we didn't have to borrow money. We bought a used car and paid cash for it, but we never saved. We would just live from paycheck to paycheck, and if we did have extra money, we would go to the movie and see Dr. Zhivago and all of these wonderful films that were popular back then. So then after we moved from Texas, I think he got transferred to it was a store it was a TGNY in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi. And then it's like every 6 months when you're in retail, or the way it was back then, you would get transferred. So we ended up in Gulfport, Mississippi, and he was the manager of a little TGNY there on Hardy Street. And then I got pregnant with Jason, and Jason was born February the 10th, 1973. Of course, during that time, I didn't work. I stayed home and took care of the baby. So we were still living on about $200 or $250 a week, and of course we never saved. We had to buy, we didn't have to buy Pampers, but we had to buy cloth diapers and, take care of the baby and provide for his needs and everything. So we ended up moving again. I can't remember You know, that's like almost 50 years ago, so my memory does kind of lapse a little bit, but we ended up moving again, and finally we relocated from Bay St. Louis to New Orleans, and I worked for Equitable Shipyards there on the Industrial Canal. By then, Jason was about 3 years old, and John went back to work for W.T. Grant's, and he was an assistant manager again at the store there on Gentilly Boulevard. So from there, we decided to move to Covington, Louisiana, and we did buy a house there, and John was still working in retail, and by that time I was staying home because I got pregnant with Jeremy, and this was in 1977. I had been working at Equitable Shipyards there in Madisonville up until I think Jeremy was about 7 months old. Yeah, I remember. I did quit, yeah, right before he was born. But I was working. I did transfer from the Equitable in New Orleans to the one on the North Shore. But then after Jeremy was born, John had gotten a good job at this scrap metal company called P&W Industries. And he was a salesman there for them. And, you know, there's a lot of money to be made in scrap metal. And he was selling left and right. I mean, he could sell anything, y'all. He was such a good salesman. So he was making good money, and we bought the house there on Slimmer Road, and it was $33,500, and this was in about 1975. And after I quit the job at Equitable, I stayed home and I started doing babysitting. So, you know, that was just a little extra money that we had coming in, but we still never saved. We would just, if we would have some extra money, we would go eat at Trey Inn or someplace like that. You know, if we had just saved even $5 a week, you know, all of that money could have been invested, and then we would have had a nice little nest egg. But we didn't. We just spent and spent, and we never bought anything extravagant. We would buy a new car, maybe. I think we bought one new car. We bought a Buick Regal during that 1970s period. All the other cars that we ever bought were secondhand or used. So then John ended up getting a job with Medco, which is the metallizing company, and he was a field engineer for them, and just making a ton of money. Like I told you, he could sell anything, and it was a product that he sold. It was some type of metallizing equipment that he sold, and then there's the powder that you put into it, and then it sprays a metal coating onto products to prevent them from rusting, or if they're already rusted, they can be, you know, the rust cleaned off and then coated with the metal coating. So John was making a lot of money. So during that time, I was able to stay home. And y'all have heard me talk about John before being an alcoholic. Well, by then, you know, he didn't do anything to stop or to slow down his alcoholism, so it was progressively, as any disease does, it gets worse and worse. So it got to where he was not making as much good money because his sales were just, you know, suffering because of his drinking and his alcoholism. So y'all please go back and watch some of my early stories if you're kind of lost here, and that will catch you up. But the point that I'm making is that when we were making pretty decent money, we spent it instead of having some type of, I don't think they had IRAs or Keos or anything like that back then. I don't even know if they had money markets, but they had savings bonds and probably mutual funds in the stock market, or just a plain old buy a CD or something. So I just want to tell y'all to think about that. Don't be foolish with your money the way that we were and not save it. Because then whenever you do spend it and you buy nice jewelry or nice cars and nice things, you will end up having to pawn that jewelry or sell it to be able to buy milk and eggs and bread. Because that's exactly what I had to do. John and I bought these gorgeous wedding bands when we first got married. They were real thick gold, you know, 14 karat thick gold, and it was like a love knot. I'll see if I can find a picture and post it at the end. of the video that's similar to it. I can't find a picture that's exactly like it. But, you know, over the years, we ended up having to pawn both of our rings. And when you're in a situation to have to pawn something, you're certainly not going to have the money, you know, 2 or 3 months later to go get it out and then pay all those interest fees. So don't think that you're going to, I mean, unless you plan on winning the lottery or something, or getting a good paying job, it's just all you can do to just float and, you know, survive. So the point I'm making is that all of the nice things that we had accumulated over the years when we were not good stewards of our money and didn't save, we ended up losing all of those things. Now, when little Scotty and I got married in 1970, I had a cousin living in Germany. He was in the Air Force, and he and his wife were in Germany. Charles Demron was his name. I'm not in contact with him much anymore. I'm not even sure if he's still living, because we did lose contact over the years. But his wife sent me and little Scotty a German wedding cup. And what it is, it's this chalice that it's a German tradition that you drink out of at your wedding. And there's a story behind it. The fairy tale about it is that this girl who was the daughter of a nobleman, a German nobleman, she fell in love with a goldsmith. And of course her father wanted her to marry a nobleman. He didn't want her to marry this goldsmith. So the father arranged for the goldsmith to be locked in a dark dungeon. Well, when that happened, his daughter just started growing pale and got weaker and sicker and sicker. So he was thinking, you know, I have to do something. She's so in love with this goldsmith. So he told his daughter that he had a challenge for the goldsmith, for him to make, if he was such a good goldsmith, for him to make a cup that you could drink out of both ends without spilling a single drop. So she told her lover about that, and he did make a chalice, and those are still a tradition today. So my cousin in Germany, his wife sent me and Scotty that German wedding cup for our wedding in March 1970. And she also sent a German I think it was hand embroidered and handmade linen tablecloth. And I think I found a picture of that too. So over the years, you know, I had yard sales, and I ended up having to sell my sterling silver chalice and my German linen tablecloth. You know, those are heirlooms that it makes me sick on my stomach now to think about that I had to sell them. So, you know, my advice here to you is, if you can make sure that you contribute as much as you can to your 401k, even if you're in your 40s or 50s, you know, you still have a lot of time left to invest and to buy CDs and buy stocks. And, you know, just save. Even if you just put it in a sock or in an envelope in your sock drawer. Or like my mother used to do, she would hide her money in the freezer. And I think everybody in Lumberton knew that little trick. So if someone broke into our house there on Hargrove Hill, they would have found the money frozen. So I hope you enjoy my little series, and I will continue to make them as, you know, as I think of things. And if y'all have any suggestions, anything that you want to hear me talk about, just leave it in the comments below. And y'all please give me a thumbs up now, and y'all just keep on coming back. Bye, guys.